So we're going to cover a number of platforms that I think will be useful in our teaching. And the first of those is a kind of a surprise addition to our meeting, and that is a platform called Discord, which is actually a gaming platform as far as I understand. Now, I don't really know anything about this platform, and it was Nedime that told me that she'd used it in her class yesterday, and her students at Yeditepe are quite familiar with it and already know it, so they're going to, in a second, take over from me and just give us a bit of an overview of Discord. So a big thank you again to all of them. Then I will present a platform that I'm actually quite excited about. It's called GoReact, and it is an asynchronous feedback platform where you can give your feedback on videos that are uploaded by the students. It's not designed specifically for interpreting, but it's very useful. Then I'll talk a little bit about Zoom. We're all very quickly becoming experts in Zoom, but I'll just talk a bit about how I think we can use it in our classes. Like I say, I haven't taught any classes online yet, so I'm certainly not an expert. So it's really just things that I've been thinking about, things that I've been discussing with other interpreter trainers. And then the last one is Kudo, which is a multilingual web conferencing platform, and we've been given a free license to use this until the end of the semester. Some of you might have used this as interpreters. It's not ideal for teaching purposes, but there are benefits to it and good things about it. So we can also have a discussion about which ones we want to use, and of course everybody can choose to use different platforms or different combinations of all the platforms in their classes, depending on what they feel they need. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'll be able to see everyone more normally, I think. And I'm going to pass straight over to let me get the two Janers and Doğaç from Yeditepe, who are going to give us an overview of Discord. And I don't know if I need to give you host permissions or anything. I think I can do that if you need me to.
I'll try to share my screen. Hello, thank you for having us. Discord, like you mentioned, is originally a platform developed for the gaming community, but it has a special benefit over the other VoIP applications, that it allows you to create multiple channels in a server so that you can essentially simulate booths. Like you can have different rooms in a server, so that we created 3 booths in one server and 1 discussion room, and the teacher can hop between the booths and listen to every student. I'll share my screen now and try to show you the demonstration. Just a second.
Maybe we should also mention that this doesn't support any video calls. So while you're doing all of this, you won't be able to see your students. But this Discord app has a video function. You have to do it separately through direct messages. So you can actually have video call feedbacks, but during the interpretation phase, you have to use voice only.
I'll start the video. Tell me if there is anything wrong. Okay, I think I'm sharing computer sound. Okay, here goes. Okay, we will have our demonstration now. My friends are in the discussion room. We have synchronized our videos on a certain timestamp. I will count down from 3, and everyone will go to their respective booths. Interpreter 1 to booth 1, obviously. Okay, I'm counting. 3, 2, 1, go.
First of all, how do we scientists know?
Now I mute myself so that they don't hear me. And when I join them,
10-20 sene sonra ne olacağını nereden biliyoruz? Nasıl bu kadar kendimize güveniyoruz? Öncelikle Moore'un kanunlarına bakalım. Burada bir grafik görüyorsunuz. İşlem gücü her 18 ayda bir 2 katına çıkıyor. Bu ne anlama geliyor? Bu siz postadan bir...
Doğum günü kartı geldiğinde açtığınızda içinde bir çip var. Ve çipte mutlu yıllar sana diyor. Sonra bu çipin içindeki bilgisayar gücü bütün 1945
kuvvetlerin 1945'te sahip olduğundan daha fazla işlem gücü var. Hitler, Eisenhower, Churchill bu çipi elde etmek için ellerinden geleni yapardı. Siz ne yapıyorsunuz bu çiple? Çöpe atıyorsunuz. Bu grafiğe bakalım mesela. 1960'larda görüyoruz. NASA'nın neredeyse hiç işlem gücü yoktu. Telefonunuza bakın. Bir cep telefonunu...
Haftanın tamamından daha fazla bilgisayar gücü var buradaki tabloya göre. Ki NASA o zaman bu haliyle 2 insanı Ay'a gönderiyor. Yani bakalım bu arabalar da Moore yasasına uyuyor. Yani arabayı park ettiğiniz zaman
Öyle olurdu. Arabanızı park edip gidebilirdiniz. Arabanızı park etmeniz arabanın daha pahalı olur. Bu ne anlamaya geliyor? Bu 2020 yılından itibaren bilgisayar
tek bir kuruş tutacak. Bu çöp kağıdının ücreti. Yani şimdi artık bilgisayarın geleceği hakkında bir fikrimiz oldu. Gelecekte bilgisayarlar her yerde olacak ve hiçbir yerde olmayacak. Duvarların içinde gizli olacak. Hayatımızın her aşamasında gizli olacak. Tıpkı elektrik gibi. Hem her yerde hem de hiçbir yerde olacak. Burada da internetten bahsediyoruz. Dünya çapında interneti biz yazdık. Fizikçi.
World Wide Web bir fizikçi tarafından yazıldı. Atom altı parçacıkları incelemek için. Böylece burada internetin kalkınma anlamına geldiğini görüyorsunuz. İnternetin olduğu yerde ticaret olur, bilim olur, finans olur.
Fakirlik, yoksulluk var. Yani bizim fizikçiler olarak yaptığımız bir şey, biz bir şey yaratıyoruz, ondan sonra da onu ücretsiz olarak veriyoruz. Peki siz internetle gelecekte nasıl bir iletişim kuracaksınız? Bu gözlükler tam olarak internetle uyumlu. İstediğiniz herhangi bir web sitesini buraya indirebiliyorsunuz, film indirirsiniz, e-posta indirirsiniz.
Let's go back to the discussion room.
Alright.
As you see, after we come back here, the teacher could, give feedback and some other information, discuss about the translation. This basically concludes our demo. Well, that's demo.
Yeah, and the best thing about this application is it's completely free.
And also, we've also prepared a 3-minute long video where I guide you through the setup of the server and creation of the channels. I mean, if you're interested, of course, we could also share that with you as well.
That's really great, thank you. I think maybe for the setup, maybe we keep that. Maybe you could send it to me, and I will kind of prepare some files for people on how to use, like more specifically, how to files, because I think tonight we might be a bit overwhelmed by all the different platforms. And I don't want it to go on for too long. So I think it's very good to have an overview, and then we can each decide which we want to use, and then we can look at the documents on how to do it, if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, I'll send a link to the other video. We won't show it now. Okay.
Wonderful. I mean, if we can watch it now, if people would like to, and I think it would be a good idea to maybe have some questions about Discord now while the students are here, and then we can let them go. They don't need to necessarily stay for the presentation of the other platforms, although if you're interested, you're more than welcome to. So I think we can have a quick question and answer on just specifically on Discord, and then we'll move on to the other platforms. And also, Nedime used this program in her class yesterday, so she can also maybe give us her opinion on how it worked. Ebru, did you have a question?
I do. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Sorsam acaba? Ben Türkçe sorayım. Arkadan gelen sesi, yani orijinalin sesini oynatmanız hiç mümkün olabiliyor mu? Sizin sesinizi üstüne gayet iyi duyuyordum. Arkadan da orijinalin sesini çok hafif duyabiliyordum. Onu yükseltmenin ya da sizi kısmanın bir yolu oluyor.
Evet, kullanıcıların, yani öğrencilerin seslerini de %200'den 0'a kadar azaltıp artırabiliyorsunuz. Ben demoyu kaydederken YouTube videosunun sesini kıstım öğrencileri boğmasın diye, ama onu %100 ayarlayabiliyorsunuz.
Evet, o ilginç olabilir. Yani dinlerken bile ayarlama yapmak mümkün, öyle mi? Birini yükseltip.
Evet.
Tamam, çok teşekkürler.
Ben teşekkür ederim.
Ahu da aynı şeyi soracakmış.
One thing that as far as I understand, the students play the video on their own computer, and the trainer plays the video on their own computer, and they all have to press play at the same time, right?
Yeah, that's
the only drawback.
That's the only issue. Yeah. You have to synchronize. We do it by counting backwards, but whatever suits you.
Sure.
However, Discord has some features that allows us to, have the same audio playback on all the users using the bots. So we will try to explore this feature, and if we can implement it during this interpretation training program, we will also
decide to
try
use it,
that.
of course.
Yeah.
There's a question in chat, Ms. Ahu. They can use a single computer as if in like just they can watch the video, the source video. You're muted. We can't hear you.
No, I wasn't speaking. I'm waiting for your
All
question.
right.
Correct, but what I would like to know is whether they need 2 devices or just 1 device.
A single device is sufficient.
Yes.
So once they're switched on Discord, they can switch to their YouTube screen and hear the speaker and see the speaker simultaneously while they're broadcast on Discord, correct?
Well, honestly, what we did yesterday was I kind of like closed Discord, not completely, but I just put it down because I minimized it because I didn't want to see Nedime Hoca moving around the channels because I would feel nervous with her listening. So I only had the YouTube screen on my screen.
Okay, thank you. And I'd also like to congratulate the interpreters. It takes a lot of guts to do this in front of 9 professors. So well done.
Thanks
really.
a lot.
But what about the teachers, the instructors? Do they ideally, is it okay, or is it better to have 2 devices or just 1 to listen to the original?
1 device is sufficient for you as well, ma'am, because you can arrange, like you can adjust the volume on both the interpreters and the source video. So you can just adjust it in a manner in which you're comfortable, and then you can readjust it. You can even do it individually. If an interpreter is speaking loudly, you can just adjust that as well.
But it will be 2 voices on top of each other, right? The original and the interpretation.
Yeah,
heard.
Yeah, it will be like in the demonstration, you will be hearing the source and the edition from 1 channel from your earphones.
Okay.
I think
well, yesterday was a great experience for me. It was really a great experience because it was the first time that I used Discord, that I found out about Discord, and they taught me so quickly. They actually helped me a lot with how to use it. And it was just like changing the channels on your receiver. No change, no difference at all. I just sent the video to them because I didn't know how to use the video, listen to the video at the same time and listen to them. But today they sorted out that problem also. So next class, we're going to use it like that.
And Ersak, maybe you would like to answer the question in chat from Ms. Zeynep about recording people and how it works, because I don't know how that works.
Like the other gentleman mentioned, there like to get edit functionality on Discord, you have to add things called bots to your server. They're not really too easy to deal with, but I think we could help you set up with a bot to get recordings as well. But it doesn't have that function in itself.
Okay, so Anna, just because you came in a bit later, this is a platform called Discord that we're discussing. It's a possible option particularly for simultaneous classes, and so it's one of the options we have for running, for having separate booths for students to all interpret at the same time. Does anyone have any questions, Ebru?
I do have a second question. So you set it up in a way that had breakout rooms, or however this app calls it, right? So you basically created these 2 rooms, placed the interpreters in these 2 rooms. I was wondering if you could just very briefly show us, if it's easy, how you do that, and also how you control for volume. I don't know if that'll take a lot of time, but it would be very useful.
It's pretty quick. I'll try to share my screen again.
Okay. If you can set up one for us right now, that would be.
Yep.
And maybe you can show the class that you have already created for me for Boğaziçi.
The video?
No, not the video.
The server we have for the.
I'm not logged into that account.
Okay,
I can walk you through the process.
I can share it as well. I'm already there.
Okay, if you want to.
So if you can you see it now? This is the screen. This is our server that we used yesterday. And we name them channels here, but we can rename them. You basically click them. When you click them, you can switch channels. And when you're over an individual, you can right click them to see different functions. You can mute them, deafen them, change their names. And just usually when there's someone else here, there's an option, there's a slider to adjust the volume. Yeah, so this is the other Caner. As you can see, there's a slider that's called user volume, and you can just adjust it. By default, it's at 100%, and you can just lower it and increase it however you see fit. You can also mute yourself over here and deafen yourself. And when you're in the discussion room, this is the main hub we use, and these are the booths. And since I don't own this server, I'm unable to create new channels.
I was going to say that. If perhaps I should give a quick demonstration.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the main screen. When you first start, you see there's a button here that says add a server. Click that, create new server, give it a name. Let's call it new server. This, you see this window first, you can send this invite to the students who will be joining the server. And to create channels, it's basically you click here, create channel. I like to call them booth 1, 2, and 3.
Excuse me, there's a question from the chat. Well, you can add as many channels as you want.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, as many as you want. I've seen servers with up to 50 channels, but you know, I don't know the limit really. You can also rename channels, call this the discussion room, everything. And this, you can just like keep doing this, booth 2 and 3. As many as you want. And it's pretty much set up. You just, all you have to do is switch between these. I'm sorry.
That's great, really. So I think my suggestion is that we don't spend too much time talking about each of the platforms. We can come back to discussing any of them later on, and we can also organize sessions individually on each of the platforms for people that want to know more about one of the platforms. But otherwise, I think, you know, there's lots of people or lots of questions that we could ask about each of them, and we may end up here all night. So if that's okay with it, if anyone has anything that they desperately want to ask about Discord now, we'll take 1 or 2 last questions. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next platform.
Just to clarify, by text messages, you can send direct messages, but that is within the app. So it's not something we can send them over the phone or whatever. So the users have to download the app and they have to be signed in if they need to see the app, and they have to enable their notifications on mobile, preferably.
Okay, great. Okay.
Well, the application can be downloaded on phone as well, so mobile phones, I mean.
But students can send chats to each other just like we're doing here.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so I shall take over your screens again and go back to my PowerPoint. Thank you once again to students from Yeditepe. It's really appreciated, and I'm sure a lot of us will be using it and probably asking for your help. So you might regret this, but yeah, it's really useful. You're welcome to stay for the rest. You're welcome to leave. It's really up to you. The next platform is quite interesting. So if you're interested in technology, you might find it interesting. So our next platform that I want to talk about, and this is the one that I really think for me is quite exciting. It's not something that I knew about at all before. It's a platform called GoReact. And let me find I have notes on it on a separate device. So let me just open those up. It's an online video feedback tool. So it's not designed at all for interpreting as such, but it's used for teaching and giving feedback on anything that requires a visual. So it's used a lot in language teaching, also in sign language interpreting, in public speaking classes, this kind of thing. Sorry, in sign language classes. in public speaking classes. And it's a form of asynchronous teaching. So it's not a platform where you would be online at the same time as your students. You use it separately, you set an assignment, and then you get their submissions of that assignment that you can leave feedback for. No, I'm being told that our meeting will end in 10 minutes. Let's see if it throws us out or not. If it does, I'll send everyone a link to the next to my next meeting. Okay, so how we can use it now. I haven't actually used it actively yet. I have uploaded an assignment, and some students have put submissions, submitted their recordings, their interpretations to those assignments. But a lot of what I'm saying for all of these platforms about how we can use it is really all a little bit in my mind at the moment. So this is how I think we can use them. But we can set consecutive assignments, which on the Go React platform, which I'm going to show you in a second, is called a standard assignment. We can set simultaneous assignments, which again in the Go React lingo is known as stimulus. And I think we're going to be able to possibly use it for exams. Now this will obviously depend on how trustable the platform ends up being, if it works for the students, are able to use it well, and if the recordings are clear enough. So we'll have to see, but by the time we're getting around to doing exams, we should know whether it's a system that we're going to be able to use or not. So I need to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to share with you my Go React screen. I think it's this one, and I will just kind of walk you through really just the different kind of assignments there are. And like I said, we can have a whole other session just on Go React if anyone wants one, and we can also have questions and things at the end. So you can create, if you haven't done it already, you can create an account very easily. You just go to goreact.com, and of course my internet's now very slow, but if you go to sign up, you can sign up, and then at some point you'll be asked which institution you're from, and you start typing in Boğaziçi and it should come up with the option. Zeynep and I noticed a little bit of a problem earlier today, that there was a Boğaziçi University and a Boğaziçi Üniversitesi. So I spoke to, we have a, what's it called, like a client account manager, for the platform. I emailed her today and she said she's now put everyone onto Boğaziçi University, and she's trying to delete the other one, but she's not sure if how long that will take. So if you're signing up, try to pick the Turkish version. And I'm sorry if you can hear the cats yowling outside. It's a bit of background noise from Kıskançlık. Okay, so once you log in, you basically have the same screen that the students see, which is quite nice. So it's quite user-friendly, and I think Zeynep will back me up on this, that it's quite easy to work your way around. You will already have a test. Let me show you this. You will already have, a demo course in your account, which has a little video about how to get started with Go React. So that's also something that you can watch, and then you can set up your own courses, which is very easy. And when you set up a course, you also get a link that you can send to the students. When the students click on the link, they automatically get added to your course. But I won't go into that in detail, because like I said, there's lots of videos on how to do all of this anyway, but I'd like to talk a bit more about how it's useful for us. And like I said, you can create consecutive or simultaneous assignments. You have to give them a name, so let's just call it test. Now, if you want to do a consecutive assignment, you choose assignment type standard, and that's the basic, where they just upload a video for students to watch. They watch the video and they make a submission of their own recording afterwards. Then there are lots of different things to fill in. You can change when it becomes available. So if you want to make it available next Monday, you can start it, you can do it then. you can give it a due date. You can make it graded or not. These rubrics I'll talk about a little bit later, but you can upload your own grading criteria, and it's quite easy to use and it's quite useful. So I'm going to say, let's say I'm going to put on my rubric, and I already have this one that I've created already, so I can choose that one if I want it to be graded. Marker sets I'll also talk about towards the end, but I'll just show you here. These are also things that you create, and you can create a color-coded marker for typical feedback that you might give. So for example, yellow is language use, green here is filler words, transitions, eye contact, body language. So you can create these at the beginning, and I'll show you how these are used. You can also share them. So everyone in Boğaziçi can share with each other these marker sets and the rubrics they've created. So for example, if I go here, we will see that these ones I have shared, so everybody should be able to access them. Everybody in our account. So I'm going to choose this one and say okay. Okay, then the other thing that's important for consecutive is you need to upload a video somewhere, obviously, for them to for the students to interpret. And this is in instructor attachment. And you can either simply upload a video from your computer. So for example, I had, let's close these. Wait, let's see. I think I can, okay. So I can choose a video from here, let's say this one. So I can upload a video from my own computer. And I would press start if I wanted to upload it, but we don't need to create it now. The other thing we can do, which is very useful, is you can just add a link to a YouTube video. You need to give it a title. I'm going to say Açılış konuşması. And then I have a speech here. So you just go to your YouTube, you copy the web address, and you paste it in here. Select media. And when we create this, one second, you'll create assignment. We then have our test assignment. And when you click on instructions, you can see there's this our opening speech. Students can click on it, they can watch it, then they can take their notes, or they listen to the speech, and they submit their assignment afterwards. So that's for consecutive, and I'm going to show you what a submitted assignment looks like in a second. If we wanted to create a simultaneous assignment, oops, sorry. Here it's important to click on, to remember to choose stimulus. And the reason it's called stimulus is they see it as if you wanted, say, students to do a kind of running commentary on a particular video. So obviously, because this is designed, because the program's designed for lots of different uses, not just for interpreting, they haven't called it simultaneous, but stimulus. And here you're forced to choose the source material. On the consecutive assignment, you don't necessarily have to, because you might just be asking students to upload a presentation, for example, sorry, on the standard assignments. But for stimulus, you have to choose a source media, and you can say that each student can choose their own, but obviously for our purposes, we're mostly going to want to tell the students what they're going to interpret. So again, I can insert my YouTube link, or I can upload something from my computer. Okay, so let's go with this. Again, you can put availability date, due date, you can do all the same things. And when we save it, we then see we have our assignment here. The screen is really almost exactly the same for students. Maybe there's some slight differences, but they can click on this assignment and they'd simply click on Start Assignment. I think they can, I don't think you have to give it a title actually. They have to say who the presenter is, and obviously that's themselves. Then they go to record. And my computer is making strange noises. I hope it can cope with all this. And I shall put my headphones on actually. What I like about this, when I first saw it, I thought it was might be problematic because you have to upload a video. You can't just upload audio. So I thought this was going to be very difficult for students to be talking to a video of themselves. But what's nice is you can change the screen and you can bring it all the way over to the side so that the student interpreter has just a very small screen of themselves, and it really isn't a problem. You don't really notice it because you're focused on the video. Now I think because there's so much going on, maybe my computer or the internet capacity is not up to speed. So it does a kind of test and allows, so then it goes red when you can begin. And I can press on begin, and then what will happen is the video will start playing and I can speak at the same time, and it records both. I think I don't have to press play, but it doesn't seem to have started. I think it's because there's so many things going on my computer that it's not very happy, but usually you can just press record. And it starts recording both the sound from here and also the sound on the of the interpreter. So it's not working. So but it does work. I've tested it. I think it's just that there's too much going on at the same time. It seems to think it's recorded something, but I'll just delete it. Okay. Okay, so then I don't have any examples that I can share with you now of the simultaneous assignments, what they look like. But when you click on an assignment that a student has submitted, you have the two videos together. You can again change the screen size, so you can have the student bigger this time if you want to, or the original. And what's nice is you can control the volumes on both. It's still the same channel. They still both go into both earphones, but you have a volume control for the original video and you have a volume control for the student's recording. So what I will show you now is I can show you an example of a consecutive assignment, and this is really one that a student uploaded for an assignment that I set. And I copied the video over just so that I can make random comments without it necessarily being true, what I actually want to say to the student. So I've done a kind of example here. Let me just minimize this. So here we have my video of the student. And actually, I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I'm not sure if I shared my volume with you. 1 second. Okay. I'm just going to share this so that you can hear the sound. So now I have, this is a consecutive assignment that the student has uploaded. I see her video. I obviously already know what the speech was because it was the speech that I uploaded. And I can watch her video.
Haberdarsınızdır.
And as I'm watching the video,
Ama eminim ki benim gibi sizin de şüpheleriniz vardır bu çeviri
there's something I want to say about her eye contact. And these are these markers that I set up at the beginning when I set up my assignment. Or I can say,
bir
for
robotun
example,
bir
there's a
insandan daha
problem
iyi
here
çeviri yapamayacağı
with the
konusunda
link
da enfikir olduğumuzu
in the
düşünüyorum.
speech. Or I
Ben bugün
can
sizlere
also, for example, if this was an English interpretation, say, I could make a recording and say that there was something incorrect about the pronunciation. So here I could click on audio comment, and it should give me, again, I think there are some things that are just not working because my computer's gone into overdrive. But I can record an audio comment and say, you don't pronounce country, it's country, and get them to correct their pronunciation. I can also send a video message. Like I say, usually it comes up here with a record box for me, but Zoom is converting the recording of my previous session, and all kinds of things are going on in the background. But as you can see here, where I have made these comments, so I can put these markers on, but I can also just write something. So say for here in the text, I can say this was not the correct tone, or this did not reflect the tone of the speaker, for example, and I press enter. Now when the student, as you upload comments, as you make the comments on the video, the student can also see them. And then when they watch the video, your comments come up at the bottom, and they can stop, they can look and see, they can read it longer, they can click on a particular comment, and it takes them to that point in the video. One other thing that I think might be useful is this EndNote, to have a kind of general impression of the interpretation rather than just a list of errors, which we want to avoid. And the other thing that will help to avoid that kind of error spotting are these rubrics. You can upload a rubric where you have this kind of more of an overview of the speech. So was it accurate in terms of sense? How was the language used? How was the presentation? And you can click these, and this is obviously useful also if you want to give an actual grade, because you can say this was a 4 and this was a 3 and where was my other one, and this was a 4, say, and then you see the student got 11 out of 15. So those are the kind of general features, I think. I don't know whether, I mean, I could go into more detail about the markers and the rubric, but maybe that's also something that we can talk about another time, or that I can kind of share with a document or something, or Go React will, I'm sure, have instructions on how to use them. And one thing that's also good to know is that they, although they've offered us this for free until the end of June, I think, they're offering full support. So if you have any problems or don't know how to do something, there's a help page on their website, and you can contact them and ask them for help. So they're very helpful. I mean, obviously they're based in America, so there's a time difference, but they respond very quickly. So that's very useful. So there are a couple of comments. Let me just see. I don't quite understand what Zeynep means by a comment. Ebru, yes, for the simultaneous, you can listen to both. You can also, if you wanted just to listen to the interpretation, you could completely mute the original, or you can download the student's video. So I'm not sure if is there a demo assignment, Zeynep? I thought it was just the...
Yes, Kate, there's a demo assignment, which you showed us just a minute ago. And there you can make comments, you can try the markers, the rubric and everything, just like you would do on a regular student's So that's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's true. So you can play about there. The only thing is it's a sign language video, right? So you couldn't test it out as for an interpretation.
No, actually that's a consecutive video, I think, or maybe sign language. But still, you can try giving feedback on that video.
Absolutely, yeah. You can also share assignments between instructors within the Boğaziçi University account, and you can also make somebody else a co-instructor. So Zeynep has shared a class invited me to a class, and to show you that, when I go to courses here, I have my own courses, the ones that I've created, and then I also have courses shared with me, and then when I go to that, I can see this one, which is a course created by Zeynep, which I am a co-instructor on. One very last thing that I'd like to show you here, if I come out of this, and this again, this is something that we will have to test to see if it works. Let's say final exam. If we wanted to do a final exam for simultaneous, we have this option to say they have a single recording attempt, and you can see it says test here in brackets. We can give students only one attempt at doing their recording, and we can also give a very strict time limit, so we can make it available at 12 o'clock on 1st of June, and it's due by 12:15, so that all the students have to go on at a particular time and do their recordings. Now, of course, I think we'll have to test whether that works or not, so we'll have to do a kind of mock exam, I guess, to see whether it works. But in theory, it should be possible if the quality of the interpretations is good enough, which so far it seems to be. The videos that I've looked at from the ones my students have submitted seem to be okay, but they're consecutive. One last thing is that they can also, let's say if they don't have a very good internet connection, they can record their videos on their own computer and then upload it. So they don't have to do this record, they can record on the platform and then it converts it, uploads it automatically, or they can listen to the speech, or they can click on the YouTube link, watch the YouTube link outside the platform, make a recording outside the platform, and then upload the recording, and it might just have to sit there uploading for a while, but they don't need to have a good stable connection. Of course, that wouldn't apply for the exam, so that's something that we'll have to think about. So I don't know, I also want to briefly talk about Zoom and Kudo, but maybe it makes more sense if you have any specific questions about GoReact to ask them now, and then we can move on. So if anyone, I don't know if anyone has any specific questions, has anyone said anything? It's very difficult. What I'm learning from this is it's very difficult to follow the chat and talk at the same time. So you have to excuse me if I miss any questions. Feel free to ask them again. If you have any questions, you can just unmute your mics and no. Okay. So the GoReact, I think it's very useful. It's not an alternative to kind of face-to-face teaching, but I think it will make our lives easier in terms of giving feedback, because you can have these kind of shortcuts, and you can also ask students to do self-feedback. You can ask them to use these markers, use the rubric on their own interpretation, and you can ask them to give peer feedback. So you could also have it go through self-feedback and peer feedback and then come to you to make any additional comments, for example. Okay, let's go back now to my PowerPoint. So we talked about the things that we could possibly use GoReact for. So now for the last 15-20 minutes, I'd just like to quickly talk about Zoom. Now, of course, we're all experts in Zoom already. As I said, and as we witnessed, we're still using this the free version, even though the university does have a license. I think they're looking into how they can share the license between us. So I think it might be that we will have to tell them when we're going to do classes, and then they'll give us permission to use the university's account, but we'll find out more about that. There's a Q&A session on Moodle tomorrow that I'm going to go to, so hopefully we'll find out more about it then. And the other thing about Zoom is that there's, as a lot of you already know, they've introduced an interpretation feature, and it looks like we may be able to have that activated on our account. We're waiting to hear back from the university administration. We've been told that we do have that option on our account, but they don't know how long it will take to activate it. And we're not 100% sure how useful it will be for our classes. So that's something that we might be able to use a bit, maybe not for the first week or two, but maybe later on in the term. So Zoom is a video conferencing platform, as we all know, and it offers the ability to give synchronous classes. Obviously, it's not designed for interpreter training, but there are a couple of features that are useful. And again, probably everyone's been living on Zoom for these last few weeks, so you probably have already seen a lot of them. But my thoughts about Zoom, and really, again, this is just my general thoughts on how we can apply, or how we can make best use of this platform for interpreting classes, is first of all, you can have live speeches, obviously, like we're doing now. So you could be speaking, or you could get the students to speak for other students to interpret from. You can share videos. Now, this is the nicest thing about Zoom, is that you can share the sound from your computer and it comes across quite clearly. There is a bit of a lag, but not very much. And it means that everyone's not necessarily having to open the link or a file on their own computer. And breakout rooms, I'm sure you've all experienced, you can put students in different groups. The problem, I'll talk about breakout rooms separately, actually. And my other thought about using Zoom is that we maybe want to combine it with different platforms. So because it doesn't meet all of our needs, especially for simultaneous. So we might want to use it in combination with some other platforms. So I will briefly talk about all of these. So for video sharing, you simply share your screen as you would normally do. But so you, wait, we have this special, I'm going to use my laser pointer here. You share your screen. But when I have a laser pointer, I don't seem to be able to change. There we are. And when you click on share screen, this window will come up, and you have the option to share whatever is open on your computer. But we want to say, for example, you've already prepared and you've opened up the YouTube video that you want to share. You click on that, and what's really important is that you say share computer sound. If you don't click on this, the students will just see the video, but they won't hear the sound. If you click share computer sound, then the sound from your computer gets broadcast to them, like I say, with a slight delay. I think we probably want to select optimize screen share for video clip, but I'm not quite sure what this does. I tried to look into it, but I couldn't find anything that clearly told me what difference it makes if we do this. So you could share a video. The only problem is that for, let's say you share a video and want the students to interpret it in simultaneous, you can't listen to the student and the video at the same time. But the students could be recording themselves and then sharing those recordings with you. And the same goes for live speeches. For simultaneous, you can't listen to the live speaker and the student interpreting at the same time, but the students could mute their microphone, make a recording, and then send it to you. Or they could perhaps, I'm thinking as I speak now, they could possibly share their recording via Zoom afterwards for everybody to hear. So that's video sharing. I won't do an example now. We can talk more about this afterwards if we want to. The other useful feature of Zoom is these breakout rooms. Now this is really, I guess, mostly for consecutive, but you can put students, a bit like the Yeditepe student showed us for on Discord, you can put students in different groups in rooms, and then they can work together. So for example, you could share a video for consecutive. All the students watch the video at the same time, then you put them in breakout rooms, and you can put 2 or 3 students in the same room. One of them interprets and the others give feedback, for example. And then as the host of the meeting, you can drop in on any of those rooms as much as you want. The problem about this is that the breakout rooms aren't recorded. So if you wanted a recording of the student's interpretation, you would again need them to record it on their own device and send it to you afterwards. So that's breakout rooms. So when you click on breakout rooms as the host, you get this option. You say how many rooms you want. There was only one person in the meeting, so but you can say, okay, depending on how many students you have, you want 3 rooms, you want 2 rooms, however many you want to do. You could put 1 person in each room, so you could have 3 students in a separate room if you wanted them all to be interpreting and drop in on them. So we've talked a bit about the first 3. The other thing that I've just been thinking about is how we can combine it with other platforms. So Zeynep and I were talking this morning, and Zeynep was saying that maybe what she might do is meet with the students on Zoom, have a discussion, talk about the speech that they're going to do, then say, okay, everyone log out, go on to Go React, complete the assignment, give feedback, or do peer feedback, self-feedback or peer feedback, and then meet again in an hour or however long you think this whole doing the interpretation and giving feedback is going to take. So that could be one option. The other option might be to use these channels on Discord to be able to maybe switch between the channels a bit more easily, but have Zoom kind of open or available so that you can also have a live feedback, because I think it's quite important also to see people's faces, or otherwise you just feel like you're talking into the void. So I think it's nice for students to see your face, and then also for you to see them. So if you're just using Discord, for me, I think it would feel a little bit alien. But maybe you can have like a discussion at the beginning on Zoom, and then students log out, do the interpretation on Discord, then you have a feedback session again on Zoom at the end. So that we could do combinations of both. Now I see there are a few things in the chat. Let me just see. Bilge would like to say something about Zoom. Okay, I'm going to stop my screen share, and Bilge, the floor is yours, please. What would you like to say?
Hi, Kate. Thank you very much for setting up this meeting. I find this very, very useful. Thank you for all the support. I think last week I joined a webinar about Zoom. This webinar was organized by an interpreter, Ümit Özaydın. I don't know him since I just moved to Istanbul maybe. And he showed us a demonstration of how we can use Zoom, just like we use Discord. I mean, you can listen to the student and the original speech at the same time. And it's also possible to record it if I didn't get it wrong. Nedime, are you here? I think Nedime was also there in the webinar.
Bilge, I think this is because I know the presentation you're talking about. He's actually having another one tomorrow, I think, that I'm going to try to attend. And he was particularly talking about this interpretation feature of Zoom, which seems to be new, and it's not active at the moment for us. We've spoken to the administration. They've said we should be able to use it. They need to activate it, and they are looking into it. So this is kind of to be continued. So once this gets activated, then we can, of course, we can use that, and we maybe then don't need to use Discord, don't need to use Kudo. But just for the time being, because we're not sure how and when it's going to be activated, if it's going to be activated, for now we have to think of the different options.
Well, when I attended that session, the session that Bilge is talking about, I realized that when you click on the booth, I think it's like one person per booth or just one listener per booth. But in Discord, you have several people. You can have as many as you want. You can have the teacher and the interpreter and several other people in the same booth. But in the other one, in Zoom, the interpretation one, I didn't get that much because there were questions about that. I was trying to understand how it works. Discord seems to be much better in that sense.
Okay, I mean, I think it's great that we have options at least. So if the Zoom interpretation feature gets enabled, then we can try it out and see. But of course, if you've already started using Discord and everything's working well, then that's also fine. I think probably different people will prefer different platforms, and that's also fine. I guess we also need to be just aware about overwhelming the students with too many platforms as well, because especially for the fourth years, not so much for the other students. If they have one interpreting class and the one trainer is using the same platform, it's not so much of a problem. But with the fourth years, if everyone's doing something completely different, it might get, I guess, a bit confusing. But we can discuss that, and we can all share ideas on what would be best. So if nobody has any specific questions about Zoom, maybe we can move on to just the last platform, which is Kudo, and then we can have a general discussion if people aren't desperate to go, but it's already been over an hour, so I don't want to take up too much time. Hande.
Kate, I have a question for you. If any of these platforms are found to be really useful, I mean, it could be Zoom, whichever one, would it also, bureaucratically speaking, of course, for us to get it to the department to buy it, or, of course they cost money, but they're not in the tens of thousands of dollars from what I understand. So my question is, even if the university has a license with Zoom only until the end of the semester, is that what it is?
For Zoom, I think they have an educational license, but it's the basic version, or previously it was the basic version, whereas now they've bought an extended version. But as Jonathan was saying, they have 60 licenses, and I don't know how many members of staff we are, so obviously that's not going to be enough. But they're trying to find a way to share these between us somehow, or maybe they're going to get.
You just unmuted.
Yeah. And now we're gonna end up getting thrown out again. What was I saying about Zoom and about license? For Go React, I've thought the same, that I really think it might be a very useful platform for our classes in general, for being able to give interpreting assignments, to make, honestly, when I try to give feedback, on assignments, it takes such a long time that I think this will really help us with giving useful feedback to students on their interpretations. So I don't know whether it will be possible for the university to buy it, but I think if we like it and we can put a case forward, then maybe. But I don't think, certainly I can't make any promises, but we could certainly, if we liked it, we could certainly ask them if it would be a possibility and show them why we need it. Okay, so I wonder whether I have 8 minutes to present Kudo to you. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint and talk about Kudo. So Kudo is a web conferencing platform. It's designed for multilingual web conferences. Again, it's not a training tool at all. But it's some people may even have used it as interpreters. It's a conferencing platform. It offers us the chance to conduct synchronous classes with our students as interpreters. Now, I'm just going to really give a brief overview because it's quite complicated and it's late and we've already talked about a lot of things, but just to get an idea why we might want to use Kudo. Kudo very generously offered a free license until the end of the semester. We don't have a specific date, but until the end of the semester for all EMCI universities. And let me just see if this is a burning question in the chat. Okay. So what's good about Kudo is that you have to set up a meeting, and in that meeting you can assign a different language for every student. So if you have, for example, the 4th year classes, you have 3 students in the class, you can assign a language channel per student. And you can use it to mainly for live speeches and for mock conferences. And one of the biggest drawbacks of Kudo, as far as we've seen so far, is that you can't really share video content. The only way that they've suggested we do it so far is to play a video on your computer and have the sound of the video go back through your microphone for the students to interpret from. And obviously the sound quality gets increasingly worse, and I don't think that's a feasible solution. So I think it's really for, say, live speeches, either by the trainer or by another student, or to set up kind of real life simulations of conferences. So to have a number of students giving speeches and a number of students interpreting, and then you as the interpreter can switch the channel and listen to the interpretation. The other drawback is that you can't easily listen to both the floor and the interpretation. There are ways to do it. I won't go into it now because I've got a countdown. But it's a little bit of a workaround, and it's not ideal for the same reason that you still have the 2 channels, the floor and the interpretation, going into the same ear. It's not very easy to control the volume, but at the same time, maybe doing it a few times, you would get used to doing it. So it feels like quite a complicated workaround, but it might be something that after a few classes is not actually all that difficult. And then the other thing is that students would be logged in either as an interpreter or as a participant in the meeting. So you can't have this form of discussion with the students when they're in interpreter mode. So you may still have to have them like log in as a participant, then when you want them to interpret, log out, log in as an interpreter, and then come back for a discussion afterwards as a participant to have this discussion. So just to give you a brief idea about what Kudo looks like, this is what the participant window looks like. It's much like Zoom. There was only me in the meeting, so there's not lots of people's faces, but usually you would have the same choice of seeing all the different participants or just the speaker. You have a chat box. You can share. You can do polls. You can share documents. And you can chat. And this window is the kind of the host, so the trainer. And here you have a chat box where you can, where you can talk also to the interpreters. The participants don't have the other participants don't have the option of talking to the interpreters. The other interface that's important for us is the interpreter interface. So you see here, we have an outgoing channel, which tells us what language channel the students are going to go from. And if you were wanting to work with Relay, they can select different incoming channels. So this is really a very brief overview. I've talked quite a lot about the negatives about Kudo. I think a lot of that is because it's not designed as a training platform. It's designed as a web conferencing platform. What I think the benefits of it are is that it is a real platform that people are using to hold conferences and having interpretation. So whether we like remote interpreting or not, it might be something that the students will do. So it's some kind of real life experience. The other thing that's good is that it records all the channels. So while you can't listen to the student and the floor live, Kudo does produce a recording of the floor and of each of the language channels, which you could then, if you have the technological know-how, listen to at the same time. There are a few different programs that you can put these the two tracks on together and listen to them at the same time, but that's a topic for another time. And then the other benefit for me is that you can really have numerous students interpreting from a live speech at the same time, and the instructor can simply switch between the channels. So there's a language selector here. If this was the actual meeting, you could click on this and it will have all of the languages that are available, and you can click on them. So I think this is the end of my, yes, this is the end of my presentation. So in time, thank you for coming. I'm happy to stay around longer if people have questions. We have 2 minutes left in this meeting, but I can create another meeting and share the link very easily. Let me stop sharing this. And see, people are writing this. You're very welcome. To get access to Kudo, you can get access to Kudo very easily. I don't think you need to register to be a participant. You don't need to register. To be an interpreter hander, you have to do this onboarding training. I'll send you some more information about those. To create a meeting on Kudo, we have a client account, it's called. And I think it's best if not too many people have that, because it might just get confusing. But for example, if you want me to create a meeting for your class, you tell me, you give me the times, and then I invite you to be the host of that meeting.
The last part answered my question. That was what I was asking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So if we have less than a minute left, and then I think we're going to get thrown out. Do people want to have a question and answer session now, or we can think about it and discuss it another time, or we can have individual sessions on any of these platforms if you want to. Okay. No, I've answered every question. I've covered everything that anyone needed to know. But please, it's a lot to take in. So if anyone has any questions, you can email me. And thank you for coming, and thank you for these reactions, Anna. these are good. We can also send these.